everyone, welcome back to my earth-friendly kitchen. This is Maria, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a fresh, from scratch tomato sauce. You can use this for pasta, you can use this for pizza like marinara to put on top of the pizza and just put some cheese on it. It's super fresh, super simple ingredients, and very quick for the to do the sauce itself. I know I do a lot of like canned vegetable recipes, but I wanted to make sure somebody could see that you can make low-cost meals as well and prep that are fresh and delicious as well. So I'm just going to start off by making a crisscross in these Roma tomatoes. I have about 3 pounds of Roma tomatoes, and these I feel they stew the best. You'll also hear them called stewed tomatoes, right? That's their other name for them. I've got a nice pot of boiling water here, and I've already cut up most of them, but I'm just crisscrossing them just like that, so that way when they boil, skin is gonna start to peel off, and it's gonna take just a few minutes for that to happen. And I'm gonna put them in nice and gentle. Be careful, don't splash yourself, don't burn yourself. Now if they don't all fit, that's okay. You can do this in batches. I have a ice bath ready here for them when they're done, when they're ready to be taken out. And that's just going to help cool them down so that they're easy to handle when it's done. Now this is a very old way of making tomato sauce. It's a traditional way. I'm going to save these guys because they make my water overflow. It's a very traditional way from the old Italian nonnas or nanas, however you say it. I have a nana, but this is a way that they used to do that back then. So the tomatoes will start to split open, and then when you see them, they're splitting open, you know that the skins are ready to really get peeled off. So like this guy is ready. You can see that his skin, he is super easy to peel just like that. And we're just going to pop him right in to the ice water. Now it is very helpful for you to have a little spider. This is what this is called, a spider, to take them out. But you could just use a slotted spoon or even a regular spoon, but just be careful. Obviously, the smaller your utensil, the closer to the boiling water you're going to get. So these don't take very long at all to come apart. And as they're coming out, I'm going to put these guys in, multitasking. So while they're getting ready, I'll pull the rest of these guys out here. Now, anytime you make anything that's fully from scratch, it's always going to be a little bit more time consuming than if you would just pop a can open, right? Which is usually very simple, very quick. So this is one of those things that's a little bit labor intensive, but it's actually fairly quick when you think about it, as far as prep time, because there's such few ingredients that we use that one's not ready yet, that we it doesn't take very long, to put these very few ingredients together. Okay, almost done here. And when we're done with these, we're gonna let them sit in the ice bath to cool down while we prep the rest of the ingredients. Obviously 3 pounds will make quite a bit of sauce. If you don't need that much sauce, make less. Use less tomatoes. Okay. We got one more guy here. I'm actually going to turn this off. And we are done. Okay. So we're going to bring this back to our station and get the rest of our ingredients going. Okay. So here's our tomatoes. Just grab my knife. So we're going to start by chopping up some onions, and an onion, I should say half an onion. My little onion saver. If you don't have one, get one. They're great. They keep your onions super fresh, and they don't smell up your fridge when you keep them in there. And half an onion, half a white onion, is going to be enough for this amount of tomatoes. So you don't really need to do such a small dice that we kind of normally do on the onions, because you don't have to worry about them being super small, because we're going to wind up blending this down when it's all cooked. So I'm going to save this over here for my discard bag that's in the freezer. But you know, you don't want them to be super big either, because then they're going to be harder to cook down, and they're not going to be, you know, easy to, it's not going to be as quick to cook. And I'm just smashing some garlic here so I can open it up. We're a garlic loving family. Thank gosh, my husband loves garlic as much as I do. So I'm going to put a good amount in here. But you can put less, you can put more, but I'm going to do about 5, well, why not 6 cloves, because it is quite a bit of tomatoes that we're going to put in there. I'm just going to open these all up so we can peel them. But you could, you know, this is the good thing about flavors like this, you know, that are very simple. You know, they're easy to manipulate. So you can definitely make more or make less of these recipes, whatever suits your needs, suits your family. But this recipe is also very easy to prep and make like a big batch like this, even if you're not using all of it. And you could can it. You could put it in a jar and do some canning. If you know my cousin Stephanie and her husband Buddy, they're at the Denman Homestead channel on YouTube. If you don't know them, go check them out. They're great. But they have an episode on, she does an episode on canning, which is really helpful for those of us that were not familiar before. But now I feel like I could do it. But we eat a lot of sauce, so I don't usually have to can my tomato sauce. We use it in pizza and pastas. My daughter loves it. It's quick for a weeknight just to have in the fridge for, you know, if she wants something quick for dinner. I can just boil up some small macaronis and give her some marinara sauce, which is very basic. All right, so we're just chopping this up. Again, doesn't have to be such a fine dice like we normally do for most recipes, but it needs to be small enough that it'll break down quickly and, you know, cook evenly with that. Now, normally I do the onion first and garlic second, but because they're larger pieces like this, we'll put them in all together at the same time, because you don't run the risk as much as burning the garlic. So that's that. And then I'm going to do some herbs here, and I have about a half a cup of basil, fresh basil from my garden. Well, from my window garden I have up there. And if you never noticed it, it's behind me. And about a quarter cup of parsley. I'm just going to do, again, another little just fine kind of chop of these, not fine, sorry, coarse chop of these herbs, because again, they're going to get blended in. Oh gosh, it smells so good. There are days where I'm in the like produce section of the store and I smell the basil and I'm like, what? I need to buy that, you know, and then I'm like, oh no, now I grow it. I don't need to buy that. So, but I still have to remind myself not to do that. And then, because then I just want bruschetta, like just tomatoes and basil and garlic. It's the same. All right, so now, oh gosh, this guy just came right off. So you can see how this just peels so nicely over here. And I'm gonna get my whole garlic out of there. This is my little discard pile that I'll be putting into my bag. So it just comes right, just slides right off when you do that cut like that. And makes them easier to break down. Now you could totally skip this step and not have to worry about peeling the skins. But, you know, for me, I just think that it helps them stew a little bit better. It's also the more traditional thing to do to take the skins off the tomatoes. So it just helps break down, I think, a little bit faster, and you don't run the risk of getting like, you know, skin of the tomatoes in your teeth. You'll find that. And you could even do this ahead of time and then like put them in the fridge and just save it until you're ready to make sauce. If this, you know, if you have a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and not necessarily a chunk of time, you know, to dedicate to this process, because it can be a little time consuming, like I said, but it's worth it, I promise. So I'm just going to start there, and I'm just going to quarter these up, and then as I quarter them up, I'm going to take out the core. So this part right here, this inner core, you're just going to want to kind of take it right out, just like that, because that's very fibrous in the tomato, and it's just not going to break down as well. So you're just going to do this for all of these tomatoes, and then we're gonna chop them up and put them in my bowl over here and get them ready for the sauce. So they can be a little slippery, so be careful when you're cutting. You don't cut yourself from the tomato, because it can get away from you. Slippery little suckers, as they can be. So I'm just going to kind of cut away. And you don't need to get rid of like all the seeds or anything. Like, that's not the goal of what I'm doing here. It's about the core itself. So, but if some seeds come out, like, it is what it is. But you don't have to worry so much about that. You know, we're not worried about the juice. We actually want as much liquid to come from these tomatoes, because, you know, we want to extract as much flavor as we can from them. So I'm just going to do this to all of them. Makes your board look a little messy. That's okay. Okay. Alright, so we are just gonna put all these in our bowl, and we're gonna take our garlic and our onions and our herbs. I'm gonna take all this juice, delicious, beautiful tomato juice, with us, and we're gonna take this all back to our oven, and we're gonna get it going. Okay, let's go there. So we're just going to turn this back on. Got our pot here, and a little bit of olive oil. Okay. And we're going to toss the garlic and onions in there first, and we're just going to break them down just a little bit. Got that old wooden spoon, that very traditional for my grandmother, my Nana, and I think any Italian household is going to have this. Now, you're not going to need to sweat these as much or as long as you normally would, like if you were making other dishes, other types of dishes, because they're going to cook into the sauce, and so you want that fragrance to really build into the tomatoes as well. So you're just really going to do this for maybe a minute. You know, here we're going to let this go, and I'm going to turn this to a medium. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to add everything in, and once it's combined, we're going to cover it, and we're just going to let it do its thing. And once it's going to sit for about 10-15 minutes or so, we're going to come back and we're going to blend it all together, and then we're going to let it really cook down. And like for about 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to let it reduce really beautifully to a nice, beautiful sauce, because we're going to have all that water come out of the tomatoes while that's happening. So I'm just really getting them to have a little sheen here from the onions and garlic, and I'm going to throw my tomatoes in now. Just all that stew juice and all those herbs. And we're going to just mix that all together. Again, it looks a little, it's obviously very chunky right now, but we're going to blend this down. But even when we come back in about 10-15 minutes, you're going to see that this is already starting to look saucy. It's going to have a lot more liquid in there. And we're going to put about 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now, a lot of times I limit how much salt I put into things because we do use a lot of canned ingredients, because they already have sodium in them. But this dish will be, we're going to have to season it, pretty well. And then we're just going to add a little bit more seasoning actually after it's blended down. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to see what it needs. But for now, this is all we need at the moment. So I'm going to cover this up and let it sit for 10-15 minutes, and we'll be back to check on it then. Okay, see you then. Hi, welcome back. So we are actually about 30 to 40 minutes, possibly more than, I said 10 to 15 minutes to let the tomatoes break down. Time got away from me. Life happens. Cooking is forgiving most of the time. All it did was stew these tomatoes down a little bit more, but that's okay because it's just water, right? Coming out, which we're going to render down anyway when we blend it all in. It just means that you need less time when it's all blended down to come together, to let the water evaporate. So that's okay. So this is an emulsion blender. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can put it in a regular blender. Just, you'll take it out of the pot, just an extra step. Take it out of the pot, put it in the blender, blend it all up until it's nice and combined, and then you put it back in your pot and let that water stew down. But I have an emulsion blender, so I'm going to use that. I'm just going to kind of block myself here in case it splashes. So it's just going to blend this all up. It's going to get all the garlic and the onions and tomato mixed together with the basil and the Parmesan. Now, if a little bit of chunk is still left in when you're done, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's still flavorful. It's still going to bring the same flavor, but you want it to be a sauce, right? You want it to cover what you're eating. So I'm just going to blend this until it's all combined. It's like my shield. So just in case it splashes, because it's hot. All right. You want to be careful when you're doing this because it is hot, right? You want to make sure, you're taking precautions. Nobody is standing next to you, kids and whatnot. I try to teach my daughter the safety of the heats from the oven without making her afraid of the stove, because I want her to enjoy cooking too, when she gets a little bit older. So, all right, so that is really nice and come together. Oh, I just saw a little spot with the chunky tomato. Like I said, that's okay, but since I noticed it, I might as well blend it out. All right. So that is nice and incorporated. So just so beautiful, really came together here. And this is where I am going to taste, because I want to see what it needs, because now this is going to cook down a little bit more and let the rest of that water come out. It's perfect. Again, don't need anything. Okay, so we're just going to let that go on a low heat, and because we let it render down so much in the pre-step, I'm only going to let this go for maybe another 20 to 30 minutes, and then it should be ready to go. Okay, we'll come and look at it when it's finished, all complete. See you in a bit. Okay, so it has been about 25 minutes or so, and this is cooking away. You don't even know how good it smells in here. I mean, I hope you do get to know because you're gonna make this recipe, but it smells like everything. It smells like home, smells like ancient Rome. I don't know. Did they make this in ancient Rome? Who knows? But you see how beautiful that this is. It's just this color is so nice. You know, you're not gonna get that bright red color that you would find in like a canned tomato sauce or not, just because those are, you know, probably different tomatoes or whatever. You mean your sauce may be redder than this. That's okay as long as the taste is there. We're gonna taste it one more time now that it's come together really nicely to see if it again needs anything just right at the end. But it's unusual that it does. Yep, perfect. So you can use this on a pizza crust. You can put this on like even English muffins and just shred some cheese up and just pop them in the toaster oven. Pasta, obviously, you can use this on top of, but a really beautiful, fresh, homemade marinara sauce with Roma tomatoes. That's also incredibly low cost because it has very simple ingredients to it. And you know, I hope you get to try it at home and use it in your kitchen. Let me know if you do in the comments, and like and subscribe to follow for more recipes like this. Thanks a lot. See you later.